If you're watching this workshop, it's because you already know that the Digital Waste Tracking Service, or DWT, will become mandatory from October 2026 in the UK. This change brings some uncertainty and will require companies to make an effort to adapt. But don't worry, we're here to help you understand what the DWT is and what it means for the waste sector. I'm Perla Gandara, and this TEIMAS workshop will focus on answering the most frequently asked questions about this major shift affecting companies across the waste value chain. Today we'll be talking about this new tool for waste tracking and control in the UK. TEIMAS is actually an official beta tester of the Digital Waste Tracking Service, which has given us valuable hands-on experience that we're keen to share with you. Let's begin, as always, with the basics. What's the Digital Waste Tracking? The Digital Waste Tracking Service, or DWT, is a UK-wide digital system designed to record and track the movements of waste, both hazardous and non-hazardous. It replaces the existing fragmented and partly paper-based systems currently used across England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Also, it will be accessible and ready to be used across all types of electronic devices. To understand the origins of the Digital Waste Tracking Service, it's useful to look back at the EDOC. EDOC was developed around 2011 to encourage the use of digital waste transfer notes instead of paper forms. However, because the system was never made mandatory, its use remained voluntary and adoption across the sector stayed very low. As a result, investing in the system long-term was eventually considered unsustainable. Now, with the aim of achieving full, consistent traceability of waste across the entire UK, the Digital Waste Tracking Service will be mandatory for all organisations involved in waste management. What's the reason for this digital waste tracking in the UK? The Digital Waste Tracking Service has three main aims. First, it seeks to provide a complete picture of what happens to waste across the United Kingdom, from its point of origin all the way to its final treatment or disposal. Second, it aims to help regulators tackle waste crime more effectively, addressing issues such as illegal dumping, misclassification and unlawful exports, while also closing long-standing gaps in national waste data. And third, it's designed to support a more circular economy by improving visibility and understanding of how materials and resources move through the system. Timelines. Who will be affected and when? Here's how the rollout of the Digital Waste Tracking Service is planned. Starting in autumn 2025, the IT service will be available to a small invited group of users, gradually expanding in numbers. This is the private beta phase. From spring 2026, the service will be open to all permitted and licensed receiving site operators. That's the public beta phase. By April 2026, all nations should have put in place the secondary legislation to make sure that from October 2026, using the service becomes mandatory for receiving site operators. From October 2026, the service officially becomes mandatory for all receiving site operators. Looking ahead to April 2027, there are plans to expand the service to other operators, although the exact details are still to be confirmed. What will be tracked? Types of waste being tracked. The Digital Waste Tracking Service will require information to be recorded about the movement of all types of controlled waste and extractive waste. This includes household, commercial and industrial waste, whether it's classified as hazardous or non-hazardous. Overall, whenever a waste movement record is required on the existing UK legislation, it must also be recorded in the UK Waste Tracking Service. Generally, records will be needed in the following situations, although some exceptions to these will apply. 1. When waste is passed to a different organisation or person. 2. When waste is moved between sites operated by the same organisation, for example, moving waste between different permitted waste sites operated by the same entity. 3. When waste is passed from the control of one organisation to another organisation within the same site. For example, where there are different waste facilities operated by different entities in one location. 4. When waste is moved between authorizations operated by the same entity on the same site. For instance, waste is moved from the control of a permitted facility to be handled under a registered exemption operated by the same entity within the same locality. What about waste treatment and end state? It's important for waste producers to understand what happens to their waste. When waste is delivered to a receiving site, the operator will record two key pieces of information on the waste tracking service. One, the intended waste hierarchy option, for example, prepare for reuse, recycle, other recovery, or disposal. Two, the intended waste management method, such as landfill, composting, shredding, and so on. Recording this information helps waste producers make more informed choices about how to manage their waste in line with the waste hierarchy. Now, we're going to share some real questions and answers from waste professionals regarding specific day-to-day operational cases. Receiving waste from overseas. Do we need to record waste movements that came from overseas? No, only waste sent and received in the UK is in scope for the receipt of Waste Government Service. Sending waste overseas. Do we need to record waste movements when the waste is sent overseas? No, only waste sent and received in the UK is in scope for the receipt of Waste Government Service. Timing for submission. When does a waste receiver need to submit waste movement data? The policy expectation is within 2 working days, beginning with the day after the waste is received. So, if waste was received at 9 a.m. on Monday, the waste receipt record must be posted before midnight on the Wednesday. If the waste is being received by pipeline, then the 2 working days begin the day after the period specified on the consignment note for that piped waste movement ends. So, if the consignment note covers a week's worth of piped waste movement and that week ends on a Tuesday, then the receipt record must be posted before midnight on Thursday. Intracompany waste transfers. In the scenario of intercompany waste transfers, meaning moving material from one of your sites to another site, would you require a waste receipt for that? Yes, a waste movement record is required when moving between sites, even within the same company. Carriers based overseas. How do we record carriers that are registered overseas? For example, a foreign company that's been contracted to remove the material. That does happen quite frequently. A waste carrier registration number is a legal requirement for businesses that transport, buy, sell or dispose of waste, regardless of whether the company is based overseas. Therefore, this is always required. If the waste carrier does not have a UK or Ireland address, then this can be left out, as the address and postcode fields are optional. And that brings us to the end of our workshop on the digital waste tracking service in the UK. We hope this session has helped you understand the key aspects of the DWT, what it means for your operations, and to start preparing for the changes ahead. Thank you for joining this TEIMAS workshop. See you on the next one. Stay tuned.